Hello, second grade. It's Allison Shepherd from Stockwell Elementary. I'm going to bring to you another reading lesson for second graders. Today's code word is pancake. Maybe you had that for breakfast today. We're going to start today with a doodling exercise because doodling helps me calm down. So before we get focused on our reading learning target, we're going to do a little doodle. So if you have a piece of paper or a pencil or you're watching this on YouTube, you can pause it. But this is a quick drawing. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I want you to try to guess as we're drawing. So I'm going to pull up my whiteboard. And this is a picture that I learned how to draw, I think I was around second grade or maybe even first grade. So this is pretty easy, but a lot of you might draw better than this, which is great. Some of you might just be beginning drawers, so this will be an easy one for you to do. So you're going to start kind of in the middle, bottom of your page, and you're going to draw 6 small circles, and they have to be linked together. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got your 6 circles. The first one you're going to do is going to have 3 little lines that look like tally marks. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to go to the next one and you're going to do dots and dots. Then you're going to go back to those tally marks for the remaining 3. If you don't have 3, you didn't draw enough. Okay, do you have any idea what this is yet? All right, now what you're going to do is make an arch, like the St. Louis arch. So you're going to make it over the 2 middle ones. So you're going to go way up like this and down between the 3rd and the 4th circle. Then you're going to do 2 more ovals, 1 on each side. So we're going to do one here, and then we're going to do another one here. You might know what we're making now. All right, then you're going to start where the arch meets this oval, and you're going to go all the way back to that last circle. All right, and then you're going to do 2 ovals right here, and I think you're going to figure out what this is. And fill in the bottom. Yep, it's a dog. So give him a tail, maybe a fluffy tail or a long tail. And if you would like to give him a tongue, he's a happy dog. And later on, you could make him a bed and color it any way you like. So that brings me to the topic of our lesson today. We're going to talk about dogs, and we're going to read a favorite book for this reading lesson that has a dog in it. So now that we are relaxed and we've drawn a lesson, let's look at what we're going to do for our reading lesson today. All right, so our learning target for today is I can recount the beginning, middle, and end of a story, including fables and folk tales from diverse cultures, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. Now that's a big standard. So you guys are really good at beginning, middle, and end. We're not going to do a fable or a folk tale today. We're going to do a story. And then we are also going to determine the central message. And as you get into 3rd grade, they start using the word theme. So I might use that word also, theme, and it's very similar to central message. So before we jump into our book, the characters are the people or animals that think, talk, or act in the story. The setting is where and when the story takes place, and that chunk is your beginning of your story. And then the plot is the beginning, middle, and end in the sequence of events. Then we come to the biggest part of our learning target. It is the big idea, the lesson that the author wants you to learn. That's your central message. And it's universal, which means it can apply to different stories, your life, many different things like that. So we'll look at how to break that down to a theme sentence when we get finished. But I would love to share with you today one of my favorite books, Whistle for Willy. The author and illustrator is Ezra Jack Keats. So let's begin. Oh, how Peter wished he could whistle. He saw a boy playing with his dog. Whenever the boy whistled, the dog ran straight to him. Peter tried to whistle, but he couldn't. So instead, he began to turn himself around and around. He whirled faster and faster. When he stopped, everything turned down and up and up and down and around. Have you ever twirled so much you feel like that? Peter saw his dog Willy coming quick as a wink. He hid in an empty carton laying on the sidewalk. A carton is like a box. So Peter's inside here, and here's Willy. Wouldn't it be funny if I whistled, Peter thought? Willy would stop and look all around to see who it was. Peter tried again to whistle, but he still couldn't. So Willy just walked on. Peter got out of the carton and started home. On the way, he took out some colored chalk out of his pocket and drew a long, long line right up to his door. He stood there and tried to whistle again. He blew until his cheeks were so tired, but nothing happened. He went into his house and put on his father's old hat to make himself feel more grown up. He looked into the mirror to practice whistling. Still no whistle. When his mother saw what he was doing, Peter pretended to be his father. He said, "I've come home early today, dear. Is Peter here?" See, he's pretending to be his dad. His mother answered, "Why, no, he's outside with Willy." "Well, I'll go look for them," said Peter. First, he walked along a crack on the sidewalk. Then he tried to run away from his shadow. He jumped off his shadow, but when they landed, they were together again. He came to the corner where the carton was, and who should he see but Willy? Peter scrambled under the carton. He blew and blew and blew. Suddenly, out came a real whistle. Willy stopped and looked around to see who it was. "It's me," Peter shouted and stood up. Willy raced straight to him. Peter ran home to show his father and mother what he could do. They loved Peter's whistling, and so did Willy. And I have a quick surprise for you. So if you can whistle, start whistling now. And it looks like Willy. I brought my friend Sherlock today to say hello to you, and he looks a lot like Willy from the book. And he's starting to learn how to whistle. So I'm going to hold on to him if he behaves during the lesson and see if you guys paid attention in this story. So let's look at our questions. If we think back to the beginning of the story introduced you to the characters and the setting. So the first question for you, Sherlock, are you ready to see if they get the right answer? The first question is, who are the characters in this story? The choices are A, neighbors who spend time together, B, students at school, or C, a small family and a pet. Well, it was in a neighborhood, but it didn't really show us a lot about the neighbors. And it wasn't at a school. So yes, C, the small family and pet would be the right answer. Then let's look at the setting of the story. The setting in this story was A, at night in a home, B, daytime in Peter's home and neighborhood, Or C is during the school day in the country. Think back to those illustrations. Was it nighttime? No, so it can't be A. So think about B and C. Could it be C, a school day in the country? Probably not, because we saw that he did live in a neighborhood. So daytime in Peter's home and neighborhood would be the right answer. Then the author uses the middle of the story to tell you the problem. So let's think. The title is Whistle for Willy, and Peter couldn't whistle at the beginning to call his dog. So here are some things that the author gave to you, events that showed you the problem. He climbed inside the carton and tried to whistle, but nothing came out. That was when we first learned about the problem. Then he looked in the mirror to practice whistling, and he still couldn't whistle. And then we know he blew until his poor little cheeks were so tired, but nothing happened. So that tells us the character's problem. Then we have a character response question. How did Peter respond to that problem? A, Peter practiced until he succeeded. B, Peter decided to play dress up instead. Oh, he did put his dad's hat on. Or Peter clapped for his dog. Did he decide to clap for him instead? I don't remember that in the story. So, he practiced until he succeeded. That's the right answer. Now comes the part that goes with our learning target. What is the lesson learned in this story? Well, the lesson Willy learned was how to whistle. But what did the author want you to know? It could be how to whistle, but it could be a different kind of lesson that doesn't talk about the character specifically. So let's look at the lesson learned. Peter learned to continue to practice whistling until he was finally able to call his dog. Well, that's what Peter learned. So I underlined the specific words that go with this story. Peter, because he's the character, whistling, that was his specific problem. And then he did it until he was able to call the dog. So we have to take that lesson and take out the specific things for this book so we can write a theme sentence that doesn't include character names or specific problems. It needs to be a broad sentence. So in my classroom, I usually have the kiddos write that with the characters, and then they cross out the specific words that have to do with the story. So let's read it together. Peter learned to continue to practice whistling until he finally was able to call his dog. So if we cross out Peter, because that's the character from this book, and we cross out whistling because it has to do with just this book, what's the other part that goes with just this book? Right, calling the dog. So we're going to take that out and look at what we have left. Someone learned to continue to practice until they were able. So we're going to use that to come up with a theme. What does that sound like? Learn to continue to practice until you're able to succeed. Well, the author wanted to teach you the theme of keep trying until you succeed. Never give up. And that can have to do with riding your bike or reading a book or doing a math problem, all those types of things. Just never give up. That's the theme of this book. So what I want you to do today is practice drawing the dog like we did at the beginning. Then write down a few things you would like to learn how to do this summer. And think about ways you can practice and not give up. Here are a few ideas. You could practice riding your bike, tying your shoes, read a book, or whistle. Some of you, it's hard to whistle. So I am going to do some of these things and practice and not give up with Sherlock over this summer because we have extra time to do these things. So here are some of the things I'm going to be doing at my house. We're going to work on dog tricks and house training because Sherlock is just a puppy. So he's learning to go outside and he's learning to sleep at night in his bed without crying. So we have lots of things to keep practicing this summer without giving up. And it's important to do that with your animals that you get and take care of. And I've had some students during this time who miss their teachers and friends so much. You're used to getting greeted every day at the classroom door with a high five or a fist bump or a hug. And I understand it's hard not to have those people to talk to and give hugs to. So this is a good time to find a pet. So a lot of people are looking at animal shelters and fostering pets. There's dogs and cats and birds and even snakes that need homes and taken care of. So if you're having a hard time with not being able to give hugs to friends and teachers and grandparents, you might ask your parents if you could foster a pet, and then you have somebody to hug and love on, like we have Sherlock at our house. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson and the surprise of my little friend, and I hope you have a good summer with lots of new learning of activities. Have a good day.